This boat costs $500 million, and it loses roughly $40 million a year just sitting in the water. Fuel for stabilizers, salaries for a crew of 30, insurance premiums, docking fees and premium marinas, routine dry dock inspections, and the relentless upkeep of custom materials exposed to salt, sun, and humidity. The math is brutal. The depreciation curve is steep. By traditional financial logic, it makes absolutely no sense. So why do billionaires keep buying them? Why does a demographic that prides itself on ruthless efficiency, data-driven decision-making, and capital allocation consistently pour nine figures into assets that bleed value from day one? The public answer is simple. Flex culture, vanity, a trophy to park next to the private jet. But if you actually study how ultra-high net worth individuals operate, you quickly realize that narrative collapses under scrutiny. People who build empires do not buy multi-hundred-million-dollar liabilities just to take photos. They buy them because wealth at a certain threshold stops functioning the way the rest of us understand it. When you cross into nine-figure territory, money is no longer a tool for acquisition. It becomes a tool for environmental design. It stops being about adding things to your life and starts being about subtracting everything that drains your time, your focus, and your autonomy. A yacht is not a boat. It is a mobile sovereign zone. It is a controlled ecosystem engineered for privacy, proximity, predictability, and mental clarity. By the end of this breakdown, you will see exactly why the ultra-wealthy treat these vessels not as luxury purchases, but as strategic infrastructure. We will walk through the four real drivers behind mega-yacht acquisition and why each one compounds into something far more valuable than the hull itself. Chapter 2. Privacy and Control. Let's start with the most immediate reality. Modern billionaires live in a surveillance ecosystem that most people cannot even comprehend. Every movement is tracked. Airports log passenger manifests. Ground transportation leaves digital footprints. Hotel bookings are scraped, resold, and weaponized by paparazzi, competitors, or malicious actors. Even walking down a street in a major financial capital means being photographed, geotagged, and dissected in real time. At scale, visibility is not a perk. It is a liability. A mega-yacht solves that problem by creating a legally and physically controlled perimeter. Once a vessel crosses into international waters, jurisdictional boundaries shift. Maritime law creates a buffer zone that keeps unwanted attention, unauthorized vessels, and aerial surveillance at a legal and operational distance. But the physical barrier is only half the equation. Modern yachts are engineered as floating secure facilities. Access is governed by biometric verification, encrypted satellite communication systems, and staff who undergo background checks that rival intelligence agency vetting protocols. The guest list is curated down to the individual. No random encounters, no unscheduled meetings, no leaks to the press unless you authorize them. This level of control does not exist on land. Even the most fortified private estates are anchored to a single geographic point, surrounded by local infrastructure, service workers, and public airspace that cannot be fully contained. A yacht moves, it repositions, it vanishes from one coordinate and reappears in another. For individuals whose decisions move markets, influence policy, or manage generational capital, that kind of operational silence is not indulgence. It is risk mitigation. When you remove unpredictability, you remove stress. When you remove stress, you preserve cognitive bandwidth. And cognitive bandwidth at the highest levels of wealth is the only asset that cannot be purchased. It must be protected. That protection is the first real reason billionaires buy yachts. Not for luxury, for friction removal. Chapter 3. Access and Proximity. But privacy is just the entry fee. The second driver is where the real value multiplies. Proximity. History has always shown that elite networking does not happen in formal boardrooms. It happens in shared isolation. Trains in the 19th century, private clubs in the 20th, and now, floating platforms in the Mediterranean and Caribbean. The reason is psychological. When you remove external noise, shorten the timeline, and place decision makers in a comfortable, self-contained environment, trust accelerates at an unnatural rate. A traditional business deal requires weeks of due diligence, legal review, scheduling conflicts, and performative negotiation. On a yacht, those friction points dissolve. You are not pitching across a polished table. You are sharing meals, walking decks, observing behavior in unstructured settings. You see how someone handles a delayed itinerary, how they treat staff, how they react when the Wi-Fi drops. Those micro signals reveal character faster than any term sheet. And character is what closes generational deals. The charter economy around these vessels operates like a closed loop. Brokers, family office principals, sovereign wealth representatives, venture founders, and cultural influencers are carefully matched through discretion networks. A 5-day itinerary in the Adriatic or the Bahamas is not booked as a vacation. It is booked as a proximity engine. Deals that stall in cities for months finalize in 72 hours on water. There is also an unspoken social contract once you step on board. Hierarchy softens. Titles matter less. The environment neutralizes the usual power dynamics of a boardroom or conference stage. You are not there to perform. You are there to coexist. That shift unlocks a different kind of influence. Soft power, relationship capital, the kind that opens doors no cold email or broker introduction ever will. Access is not just about who you know. It is about the environment that allows genuine alignment to surface. A yacht manufactures that environment on demand. Chapter 4. The hidden economics. Now let us address the math. Because if privacy and access were the only drivers, this would still be an unsustainable expense. The truth is, the ultra-wealthy do not ignore the numbers. They just evaluate them through a completely different framework. A mega-yacht is not an investment. It is an operational cost center, and family offices model it exactly that way. Annual operating expenses typically run between 8 and 12% of the vessel initial value. That covers crew salaries, which often exceed $2 million annually for a full complement, routine maintenance, classification society inspections, insurance premiums, fuel provisioning, and management fees. Depreciation is real. Resale liquidity is thin. Yet these purchases continue because the financial architecture around them is deliberately structured for predictability and liability isolation. Most vessels are flagged in jurisdictions like the Marshall Islands, Cayman Islands, or Malta. They are owned through layered holding companies, often managed by professional yacht management firms that handle compliance, crew employment, and safety certifications. Chartering is sometimes used not as a revenue play, but as a structural tool. A family may charter the vessel back to their own management entity, creating a paper trail that aligns with maritime regulations, optimizes value-added tax exposure on fuel and port services, and separates personal use from corporate holding structures. This is not tax evasion. It is legal cost architecture. The goal is never profit. The goal is to convert a volatile, emotionally driven expense into a controlled, predictable line item. In family office modeling, unpredictability is the enemy. Market corrections are expected. Regulatory shifts are anticipated. But personal exposure, reputational risk, and uncontrolled overhead are unacceptable. A yacht, structured properly, transforms those variables into fixed costs. It becomes a known quantity. And when you operate at scale, a known cost is infinitely preferable to an unknown liability. The math does not justify the purchase on a spreadsheet. It justifies on a balance sheet of risk, control, and operational stability. Chapter 5, Sovereignty and Focus, which brings us to the final and most overlooked driver, sovereignty. Not political, personal. At a certain level of success, wealth stops being about accumulation and starts being about curation. You've already acquired the assets, the experiences, the access. The next question becomes far more fundamental. How do you protect your capacity to think clearly? How do you design an environment where deep strategy, long-term planning, and genuine mental reset can actually occur? Modern life, even for the ultra-wealthy, is relentlessly fragmented. Notifications, obligations, travel logistics, public expectations, and the sheer weight of responsibility fracture attention into unusable pieces. A yacht removes the noise. It imposes natural boundaries. No commute, no office politics, no overlapping calendars, just open water, structured routines, and deliberate isolation. It is the ultimate paradox. The most connected people on Earth consistently purchase the most disconnected spaces, not to hide from the world, to step outside of it long enough to see it clearly. Biohacking trends, digital detox retreats, and silent meditation camps all point to the same underlying demand. Focus is the scarcest resource at scale, and focus requires frictionless conditions. When you control your environment, you control your cognition. When you control your cognition, you make better decisions. Better decisions compound into preserved wealth, sustained influence, and long-term legacy. That is the real premium, not the gold fixtures, the helipads, or the custom interiors. The premium is uninterrupted thought. It is the ability to sit on a deck at dawn, with zero external demands, and map out the next decade without a single interruption. That mental clarity is worth more than the vessel itself. Outro. So no, billionaires do not buy yachts to flex. They buy them because money at scale does not buy more things. It buys fewer interruptions. It buys controlled environments. It buys proximity that accelerates trust, financial structures that neutralize risk, and the rarest commodity of all, unbroken focus. What would you actually do with 48 hours of zero noise, zero schedule, and zero external expectations? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you want the next deep dive into how family offices actually model wealth preservation, structure legacy assets, and protect generational capital, hit subscribe. I will see you in the next breakdown.